Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Popping the Popcorn. I'm your host, Katie, and today I have my good friend Kenny. How you doing, Kenny?
Hey, what's up? I'm Kenny Sparks. I'm glad to be here with Popping the Popcorn, aka Katie, aka K-pop. How you feeling? And how you doing?
I'm I'm feeling better than what I have been. I've been sick,
Mhm.
so I'm feeling a lot better than I have been. Sorry I haven't been on, guys. I've life's just been happening. Black Friday happened, so I had to do stuff like that, and just family emergencies and stuff like that. But
Mm, yeah,
how have you been?
pretty good. Just continuously like making content, making stuff, reviewing movies, talking about Godzilla that just came out. That movie is phenomenal. It's my second favorite thing I've seen this year. So I've been really enjoying just like kind of just relaxing and like watching. I think I've chilled out a lot more like after Thanksgiving weekend hit, because it was the first time I was like I put out a video on the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, and I put out one on Saturday, and I did nothing in between that except for like watch the Hunger Games movies actually.
Right.
Um, yeah,
Awesome. Did
because
you watch them all?
I watched them all. Yep.
Oh,
And I
awesome.
had such a great time with the movie we're going to talk about tonight that I went back and watched the original four, which is funny because I actually watched the first three in the years that they came out,
Mm-hmm.
and then never watched the fourth one. And so uh, this year is the first time I actually watched the last movie, which was really good. So they're all really good, which is
I
great because
agree with
I
you.
was having a blast.
I love the whole franchise. Have you read the books?
Never read the books. I'm not much of a book reader, other
Mhm.
than like comic books or like graphic novels. But other than that, I'm not really a novel reader. But yeah, I definitely enjoy the movies for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, I read the books, but I just have not read so for me personally, I could not get into the Hunger Games, the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, the book, but the
The
movie
title is
to
way
me
too
was a
long.
lot better. So I couldn't get into the book, so I like stopped. Like I think I stopped in like chapter 1, chapter 2. But that's
Hmm.
okay. Um
Yeah,
it's all good though. So I might go back and read it just because I saw the movie and then compare and contrast. So maybe I'll do like a video on that, compare and contrast them. Um
yeah, absolutely.
but yeah, so I really like the movie. So we'll get into that.
Hmm.
We'll get into that as well, and what we think people should watch it or not watch it. So The Hunger Games, this the Ballad Songbirds and Snakes. So this movie came out this year, a month ago, right? It was a month ago. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think.
this was like must have been like the weekend before Thanksgiving,
Yeah. So about a month
which
ago.
was actually really funny because I was like, oh, you have the Hunger Games, and then you have Thanksgiving where you eat a lot. So I found that to be really funny.
Okay. So this is a prequel from when Katniss before we met Katniss. So pretty much this is a prequel. So this is how Snow, Cornelius Snow, or however they were saying his name in the movie. I don't know. I call him Cornelius because
Yeah, I think Coriolanus.
yeah.
I just stick to snow.
Yeah.
I just stick to
Yeah, I
snow
think
because yeah,
Cornelius sounds better than how they were saying it. I guess maybe that's the British way of Cornelius. I don't know.
maybe
So
yeah,
so so this was before Katniss even was thought of.
right.
So this takes place how Snow kind of doesn't like District 12, and there's reasons why he doesn't like District 12.
Hmm.
So this is how it all played out and why he liked Katniss at first and then he didn't. So this goes to show you how Snow can be like hot and cold towards Katniss, and this movie tells you why he's the way he is.
Yeah, yeah. It's a really good movie, especially from the standpoint exactly what you said, telling us exactly why Snow is the way he is. I found it to be really interesting because prequels can go one or two ways. They can either validate the reason why they exist, or they can feel like a waste of time, right? So there's other prequels like
Mhm.
Solo, right? So Solo is a movie I actually do enjoy, but it did some things in that movie that I didn't think was necessary. Like they told us the reason why Han Solo's last name was Solo, and I was just kind of like, there didn't need to be a backstory to that. No one ever questioned why his last name was Solo. It's just Solo. And this movie did a really good job of doing the opposite, in which it gave us really good reasons why Snow was the way he was. It did answer those questions, like what motivates him, what drives him to be the way he is. And I think the thing that the movie does best is it does that without making him a sympathetic figure. Yeah.
I agree with you. All right, so this movie stars, let's see, cast. So this movie stars Tom, I don't even know how to pronounce his last name, but it's B
His last
L
name is
Y T
Blythe.
H.
Hmm.
Um I'm really bad. Hey Larry, what's going on, my dear friend? How you doing?
Hey, hey.
Um it has Rachel Ziegler in it, and she plays
Hmm.
Lucy. And then Tom plays Snow.
Yep.
It has Josh Andrews Rivera, who plays Plith, or Snow's friend. Hey
Okay.
Val,
Yep.
the general's here, so y'all know what to do.
Hey, Val.
Um, it also has Viola Davis, which she's an amazing actress.
She's amazing. Yeah.
Um, it also has Peter Dinklage in it.
He's also amazing. He's great in this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. It has Jason Schwartzman.
Is he's the announcer, right? The
Yes,
host of the Hunger Games. Yeah.
he's flick Stanley Tucci's dad.
Right. Yeah.
Hunter Surface, and she plays Snow's cousin, so she's like the costume designer. And
Hmm.
she also the so she also becomes so this is also a backstory from her. So you know Ivy Trinket that's in the Hunger Games? That is
Right.
actually um Snow's cousin.
That's what I thought because like I told you before we even started recording, I had watched, um, 10 years ago when these movies originally came out. I watched the first three, never got to the fourth for whatever reason. And so when I watched the fourth after watching this movie, I was like, "Wait, is that the same person? Is that because I thought it was his sister? I didn't know it was his cousin. Is that the same person
Mhm.
from?" And I was like, "Wow, okay, cool." They didn't really make any like allusions to that in the fourth movie,
Mhm.
but it was really cool to see that. And hey, what's up, Val? Good to see you.
But I will tell you something at the end of what happened to Lucy, who I think she is. I'll tell you where I think she is in the Hunger Games. There's so many like theories that you could go on this movie, honestly,
Hmm. Yeah,
from the
for
characters and
sure.
everything else. Um so then we have the grandma Fiona. Then we have
Hmm.
Byrne, which is Commander Hoff, the mean guy.
Who's that? Oh, the mean
He's the
guy.
District 12 leader of the Peacekeepers in District 12.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
And then there's some other like people that we don't really know, but they're like in the districts. They're like in the 12 districts. This
Hmm.
movie is directed by Francis Lawrence. And then the music is by James Newton Howard, but I don't, let me look and see what. Oh, he's a Grammy Award winner. So he did like The Fugitive, Space Jam, Dinosaur, Peter Pan, King Kong, The Dark Knight.
Oh, this
He
dude is
composed with
talented.
Tom Himmer, with Zimmerman, with the Hunger Games franchise, The Fantastic Beasts, Jungle Cruise, and he's also done some collaborations with M. Night Shyamalan and stuff like that.
Yeah, so he's been around. He's been around
Hmm.
for a while. Yeah, he's super talented.
And then Francis Lawrence directed Constantine, I'm
Hmm.
Legend, Water for Elephants, and Red Sparrow. And
I saw Red Sparrow. Yeah.
then he did the Hunger Games as well.
Yeah,
He
Red
did some of
Sparrow
the
was
Hunger
with
Games as well.
Jennifer Lawrence as well.
Yes. Mhm. It
And yeah,
is.
and the director, he directed Catching Fire and both of the
Mockingjay.
Mockingjay movies. Yeah, he just didn't direct the first one, which I have to
Mhm.
say, I'm glad that he came on to direct after the first one. Because even though I enjoyed the first one when I was rewatching it, it
Mhm.
does some really bad or really poor things when it's on. So it's essentially there's a lot of cuts that
Hey
seem
Joel.
very unnecessary. Hey Joe, what's up, man? There's a lot of cuts that seem very unnecessary, and the way that he films action is terrible. It has that like that shaky
Mhm.
cam thing that gets up super
Yeah.
close, and you can't really see what's going on. So the first director
Mhm.
was doing all of that. After Lawrence comes on, it's much
Mhm.
better in terms of the action and how everything else is done.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you. Hey Paula, how you doing?
Hey, Paula.
Um, so and so this is the plot of the movie. In Pan Am,
Mhm,
a noble snow family, Patch's general, this is his father, so he's a general. Snow dies during the first rebellion between the capital and the districts. 13 later, Cornelius's 18-year-old son, so Snow's son Cornelius, or however you say his name, is one
mhm,
of the 24 academy students selected to mentor in the 10th Hunger Games. Cornelius is determined to restore his family's prosperity by earning the Pitzer Prize, which is Peter Dinklage's character. And so the games um the games are created, and the academy dean um and advises the mentors um and faces entering the viewers rather than tributes winning the games. So
right.
Cornelius is assigned to mentor District 12, a female tribute, Lucy Gray Bird. During the reaping ceremony, she chimes the Capitol's viewers by singing and slipping a snake into the mayor's daughter's dress. While following, the mentor torments her, and who is killed. Cornelius owns Lucy's trust while riding with her to the capital, the zoo, and which helps her win capital citizens and sympathy. Hawthorne Highbottom discloses his paired with Cornelius with District 12 tribute, so he would fail. Cornelius prospects and sponsors shame into the head um, game maker, which is Viola Davis's character. And so
Mhm.
this is basically where the movie starts out um and everything. So
Yeah.
what do you think of how hey Michael, welcome in. Guys, go follow my good friend Michael. Hi Paula. Hey Kyle, what's going on?
Hey,
Welcome
Kyle.
in
Hey,
everybody.
Michael.
So so this is where the movie takes off. So what do you think about the movie so far?
So the movie so far, when we get to it, really didn't know what to think because coming into it, I wasn't exactly excited for the movie to tell you the truth. The trailers didn't really sell me on it, and I was kind of like, oh, they're doing another prequel, maybe. But the thing
Mhm.
that the reason why I did go to see it was because honestly of Viola Davis. Viola Davis is great, so that was really what got me to the theater. And thankfully, when I got to the theater and I saw the movie, I really love this movie. So good job on them casting Viola Davis because it got me in the seat.
Mhm. So so at this point so the movie starts out with you see Cornelius at his like mansion because
Yeah,
the Snows do have money, but because their dad passed away, he kind of comes from like a poor house at this point. So his
yeah,
grandma, he's taken in by his grandma and stuff like that. So he's taken in by his grandma, and so basically Ivy, his cousin, basically makes his school uniforms. And
yeah.
at one point when they're at the school, Peter Dinklage's character comes up to him and goes like, "You have like all this hand me down stuff.
Mhm.
Your father was much better than you," and basically like criticizing him because he's a Snow.
Right, and he was Peter Dinklage's character was like, "I happen to know that the
Mm-hmm.
Snows don't have a pot to piss in," right? And that was, something that Snow was trying to hide because all of his other students are obviously, like, affluent, right? They're probably the poorest of they're the poorest of the rich people, if you will, and even so much so that they had to share food. They were you mentioned his sister or his cousin rather. She was making, as you said, like the clothes, but she was like literally taking pieces of tile out of the wall to make like his cufflinks and his buttons and stuff like that. So it was really interesting because that was a point where I feel like the writer of the book or the director really wanted us to have sympathy for him. So I really thought it was interesting that they introduced him as poor, but really, when you think about how poor he is, even though he's poor, he's still at a much higher status than the people who live in the districts.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. And so then he goes on to the school. So they find out that this year that they aren't taking like the scholarship, and they have to mentor somebody from the Hunger Games.
Right,
So Snow actually really wants to change it. So when Snow changes it, that's what you see in the Hunger Games. That like, I think the Hunger Games takes place like 30-25 years after this. So you see what
uh,
Snow implemented inside the Hunger Games.
yeah, yeah. I think it's okay. Yeah. So when we start, I think it's the 75th or 74th annual Hunger Games in the original movie. So this is the 10th. So it's like I can't do math right now. It's like 50 years later, right?
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah, it's like 50
Nope.
years because this is the
60.
and
It's like
this
60
movie is
years
the
later.
10th. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like
So
50
this
years
movie's the
later.
10th. Yeah. It's like 60 years later, which is really interesting because that's a huge gap in time.
Mhm. So Snow's like so Snow starts to see like all these different things happen. And he's like, "Well, why can't we change this?" And in the newer version of the Hunger Games 50 years from now is actually holographic, versus this one they're just in like a rundown like arena type of thing.
Right. Yeah. So this is like the bare bones of what the Hunger Games will become. It's essentially like the printing press versus like a printer, like in the future or something like that.
Mhm.
They have all the things are like made of stone and rock and stuff like that. You know, when you get to the Hunger Games that from like 2012, you got like a full forest, you have trees, you have like lakes and like different
Yeah.
traps and stuff like that. Hold on 1 second. I'll be right back. I think I locked
Okay,
my
yeah.
wife out.
No
I'll
problem.
be right back.
So yeah, so also we start out with like all these different like kinds of things in the Hunger Games. And what I thought was interesting from the 2012 to now is they basically have the tributes in the Hunger Games. They basically have them as like zoo animals. And Snow's seen this, and he's like, why are they like zoo animals? Why are they this? Why are they that? You know, and I thought that was pretty interesting concept. And he's like, you can't, they're human beings. You can't have them as as like animals basically. And so one of Cornelius's classmates, so Cornelius gives them food because in these districts it's about poverty and they don't have a lot of food, so they can't get a lot of food there. So Cornelius brings her food, brings Lucy food. His classmate taunts one of them, and she ends up dying because she's taunting them. And Cornelius is like looking at all this stuff, or however you say his name. Snow's like looking at all this stuff and saying, like, what in the heck's going on? You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
Like like I was telling them before you left, I was telling them, as you were left, I was telling them like they were saying like they were treating them like animals pretty much in the zoo,
Yep.
the tributes.
Yep. Yeah, because when they first brought him in, they bring him in that truck, and Coriolanus, he gets in the back of the truck with them, and they look like they're about to kick his behind. But she protects him because I think she recognized that he was the only way that she would like survive the situation. If she was going to win this Hunger Games,
Mhm.
she needed someone to help her win. And then yeah, they dump her into like the zoo area where you have the the cage, if you will. And so yeah, I think it was really important to establish that difference of how the people
Mhm.
who lived in the capital actually looked at these people. They looked at them like, and you know, the I think the most interesting part about that is that the people who the tributes who they put behind the cages, right? They just look like regular human beings, just like the
Mhm.
people who are outside of the cages. So to look at them and just be like, "Oh no, these animals, these dirty people, and what have you." It's not like they were of a different like skin tone or race or anything like that. The people on the outside look just like the people on the inside, but it was that social structure that had them looking at them differently than they were, right?
Mhm.
Looking down on
Yep.
them. That girl, she got caught up in that viewpoint and ended up dying because, like you said, she was taunting them over the food.
Mhm. And in the districts, they're starving, and also don't forget, in this movie, there's also a war still going on because don't forget when they're go into the arena, they get bombed
Hmm.
in the arena as well. So
Right.
so there's still even 10 years after the fact and they made like the 12 districts, there's also a war still going on.
Yeah, it's the rebels who are fighting back even after the war was over and they lost. There's still people who are standing up to Panem.
Mhm. So who was your favorite characters or character?
I have a few actually. So Viola Davis is number one for me. Her character, I forget the name of her character. It's like Doctor something crazy or other. Let me actually look it up real quick. Um,
It's Doctor, what is it?
It's something actually really. It sounds devious, which is which is the funny part. Hunger Games.
It's Doctor something, I can't remember it.
Yeah. Yeah. Either way, Viola Davis's character
Hold
was
on.
fantastic during this movie. For some reason, my computer's acting really slow.
Dr. Vomiergul or something?
Yeah,
Vomagul or something? VOLUMM. No,
yeah,
MNIA.
yeah, something like Volumia Ghoul or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was phenomenal. Like she gave that evil, sadistic presence of. She was basically the the example of how like so the little girl who was at or the young lady who was at the cage who died
Mhm.
because she was taunting people. She represented like the classism, right? Of
Yeah.
looking at these people like animals. Viola Davis was that times like five, right? Not only
Mhm.
did she look down on these people, she wanted to hurt them. She wanted to harm them. She was so sadistic that
Mhm.
she went even above the heads of her own bosses, right? So in order
Mhm.
to construct different ways to, what she said during the movie, I want to see, I want my enemies to see a rainbow of destruction. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, and cap and it's a encapsulating, engrossing, in something them, right?
Mhm.
Taking over them. So yeah, so Viola Davis was definitely my favorite character in the movie. And, Viola Davis's character was definitely my favorite person in the movie, and followed by actually, I want to say Snow. The actor who plays Snow, Tom Blythe, he was really, I've never seen him before in any other role, but he was phenomenal in this role. So I definitely want to see him going forward. So he did a really good job at playing Snow. And then Lucy was great too. Rachel Zegler was ph- uh,
Mhm.
was phenomenal, and not only like the acting part of it, but she can really sing. Like, and she can
Mhm.
sing really
She,
well. So
um, she played in the new version of West Side Story. She played Maria.
yeah,
That's when we
yes,
first actually were introduced to her, actually.
yeah. And she continues to do do justice to her being cast in this role. I mean, she was great. And at first, I was kind of like trepidatious about the singing, right? I wasn't really sure how I felt about it. But
Mhm.
as it was more and more a part of the plot, it started making sense. And then her singing, because her singing was so good, it,
Mhm.
I was just I just wanted to hear her sing again. So she did a great job. So our three leads were my favorite characters in the movie. I also like Peter
Mine
Dinklage, but you know
mine
those
too.
three more.
I think Peter Dinklage, his character is more of a supporting role than like a main role, but he
Yeah,
also did a really
he's
good
barely in it.
job. And I thought he was gonna be the bad guy the whole time. I didn't know
Right?
Viola Davis is gonna be the bad guy or the bad woman,
Yeah. hmm
you
Yeah,
know, and
I
she
would have
actually
thought so
played a
too.
bad I don't know if she's ever played any bad lady roles, but she did really good as a like an evil person.
I don't think I've seen her play a villain before, but I have seen her play people who are kind of like morally gray. So she
She's
played.
gray in this she's morally gray in this movie too.
I don't know if she's morally gray, more so than just outright bad person.
She's crazy. In this movie, she's a little
Yeah, she
crazy.
yeah, she is definitely a little
A
crazy. She's got
and
some
I think,
going on up
you
there.
know, what I was gonna say, the Cracker Jackers, um, and the Hunger Games and the original movie from 2012, I think she
Mhm.
was the one that made those
She
originally.
is. Yeah,
Cause,
which is a
cause she
great
makes these,
callback
like,
too.
like, all these, like, types of animals that wanna attack you, and basically, the Hunger Games basically is only one victor, but in reality, I think they want no victors, to be honest with you. That's
Yeah,
why in the Hunger Games 2012, there's only very few victors from each district.
right. Yeah, and like you have to like consider too that even the person who does win, they really lose because they become almost separated from they almost become like separated from the rest of their own district, right? They're
Mhm,
like given food and given they're taken care of for the rest of their lives while the rest of their district still struggles, right?
mhm,
So they have this sort of celebrity that they didn't ask for, number one, and then they had to survive the Hunger Games. So you come back and you don't really you're not really able to integrate yourself into the rest of the society that you were taken out from.
mhm. I agree. I like the whole cast too, basically. It was a really good
Yeah,
cast.
really good
Um,
cast.
so what were some of your dislikes?
I would say like my only dislike, because I like this movie way more than I dislike it, is the third act. And I've heard other people say this too. Either didn't need to be there, like it needed to be like its own separate thing. I mean, like right after the Hunger Games ends, like that portion of the movie ends, the movie could have ended. I've heard a lot of people say. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but at the same time, the third act does seem to be um, it felt like it needed more time, but this movie is already 2.5 hours. So maybe it could have hit the 3 hour mark. But
Mhm,
once you get past the Hunger Games portion of this movie, it does seem to just kind of fast forward in a lot of
Yeah,
ways.
it does, and
So yeah,
I think they made it too fast. The end part, I think they kinda made it too fast.
right, yeah. And then I was somewhat confused by the resolution between, I guess I don't even know if you can call it a resolution, between, Snow and Lucy. I understand it more now that I had some time to think about it. But at first, when I was watching the movie and she, like, leaves him, just in that
Mhm.
cabin, I was confused, like, "Wait,
Yeah.
what's happening? What's going on?" But I had a chance to really think about what took place, so I understand it more now, but at the time, it was just kind of that seems very random.
Right. I will tell you, once we get to one of the other questions, I'll tell you what I who I actually think she is, because
Mhm.
don't forget the songbirds, the mockingjays. They started to hear the mockingjays when they were out in the cabin and stuff like that. The mockingjays um can record your voice. So they basically record your voice. And that
Right.
happened with like the one scene where he basically killed his best friend. Snoke basically
Yeah,
killed his best friend.
pretty much.
And um, and so Snow killed his best friend, because his best friend was telling him intel, this, that, the other thing, and sent it to Viola's character, and Viola told the District 12 commander, the Peacekeeper, hang him. So he basically hung his friend, and I think
Yeah.
after that point, Snow kind of was in like the gray area. So this point, we don't know if he's in like gonna turn into Snow that we see in the a trilogy with Katniss, or if he's about ready
Yeah.
to turn into like a different character.
Mhm.
Hey
Yeah,
Bones, what's
so,
going on?
another thing, like, so I don't know I know that from listening to other people, I know that the Ballad of Songs of Snakes is the only prequel book, and that I believe that there are gonna be some prequel books after, this movie that are currently being written by that author, from my understanding.
Yeah,
Um,
Susan
but,
Collins.
yeah, so Susan Collins, I believe she's, like, currently writing those books.
She is.
But so maybe in the future, the movie will cover some of the other things about Snow's character that we didn't really get a chance to see. Like if you remember in the Hunger Games, uh, I think it's Songbird, or no, I'm sorry, Mockingjay rather. Not, Mockingjay. They talk about how Snow he always wears a rose because like the scent of the poison from him taking poison with other people, even though he had an antidote, like was something it was like literally burning his lips, and he was always like sick and he was like bleeding from his mouth and stuff like that. None of that stuff is talked about in this movie.
So
So I'm wondering if it's going to be covered in the next
I
book.
think so towards the end of the movie where he has so towards the end of the movie where he gives Peter Dinklage his best friend's stuff and says, "You did
Hmm.
this," or whatever. So I think, don't forget, Peter Dinklage took the poison. So I think
Yep.
Viola Davis might find out, her character might find out in the second prequel book or whatever,
Hmm.
and makes him drink it. And that's how he has the sores in his mouth. So he hides the sores because they're always bleeding, I guess, apparently.
Yeah.
That's the way that
Yeah.
it's described to me in the books and
Hmm.
the Mockingjay book. Because I read the books as well. I think that that's what it is someone probably makes Snow drinks drinks it, and because he drinks the poison, it has ulcers. He gets ulcers in his mouth, and they're constantly bleeding. So I
Yeah.
think that that's a theory that I have. I don't know if it's
Hmm.
true or not, but that's just a theory.
Yeah. Yeah. What I got from like the just watching the movies was that is definitely a possibility, but also that he had poisoned so many people just by sharing a drink with them. Like he would put the
Mhm.
poison in there, or he would just put the poison in the bottle in general and share with both people. But he also had like the antidote, I guess. But at the same time,
He
it
did.
scarred the inside of his mouth. So it's just like
Mhm.
he so, like, the crazy part about that is that just tells me that he just kept poisoning people over over, like,
Well,
50
don't forget
years,
that
you
that
know?
happened to. So don't forget it happened in the first well, not the first Hunger Games, but 2012 Hunger Games with Peeta and Katniss. Ben Wesley's character, with the berries, he poisoned him with the berries.
Yep, sure did. And then if you remember in Mockingjay Part Two, he poisoned that the general who thought that Katniss
Coin.
was dead. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So
So
he poisoned him too.
Paula brings up a good point. It got a little confusing as many changes rules were made in the original Hunger Games. Had two victors and then they changed it to one victor. It's always been it's always been one victor, but
Hmm.
because they were both going to kill each other, Wes
Right.
Bentley's character in 2012 said no, you both win because at this point there's always been one victor, and then at 2012 they're like no, because you guys are lovers, you're from the same district. They were pretending to be lovers at that point.
Yep.
They didn't start really falling in love until the second movie, but
Hmm.
anyways, um so basically throughout the whole thing, the whole time that the Hunger Games were, there were only one victor until Katniss and Peeta happened.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, yeah. That was pretty much the standard of the way the
Mhm.
Hunger Games would go, which was crazy because you consider that there's always two people from each district that goes in. That means you got to kill the other person that's in your district.
You
Um,
have to kill your like friend pretty much or
yeah, unless
acquaintance
they
that you
got
know from
killed
the same
earlier,
district.
right? Yeah.
Uh no, Jon Snow's from Game of Thrones. Bones. Viola's character was psycho compared to her Snow towards Mockingjay is actually kind of like Viola Davis's character. I
Yep.
honestly think at that point the poison got to him.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I think that
Hey
like
Cece, welcome in.
in
Thank you
future.
so much for
Yo,
coming
what's up,
on.
CC? Hey, what's up, homie?
Thank you so
I
much
think
for
that
dropping by.
yeah, I think that what's going to end up happening is that he's going to get a lot of tutelage and a lot of influence from Davis's character, and
Mhm.
she's going to be a big reason why he essentially sees the world the way he does. Like he already has that kind of devious, like sadistic streak because of what he did to his best friend. But I think
Mhm.
Viola Davis's character is definitely going to be the person to really teach him how to be as devious as he's going to end up being.
Yep, I agree. So what I just liked, so I'll go back to that question. So what I just
Hmm.
liked is when Viola's character told him he had to go kill somebody else, and he's like, I don't know about this. And he had to go kill another like person from a different district because I think at this point she kind of knew he was cheating and kind of gave Lucy
Hmm.
some stuff. I think she kind of knew the whole time because what game maker doesn't know? You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
And so because he gave Lucy certain things, I think at this point he had to go kill that guy. And then they were coming after him. That was the funny part. They were trying to kill him.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a guy who was in the Hunger Games with Lucy. I think he was just like freaking out or acting kind of crazy
Yeah.
and something like that. So yeah, she definitely sent him to like kill him if I remember correctly. So yeah,
Hey Spoiler
that
Kings,
was a
how you
big part of
doing?
it. Yeah. Hey, what's up, Spoiler Kings? What's up, y'all?
This movie was surprisingly awesome. I didn't think I was going to like
Agreed.
it, but I was on the edge of my seat. Me too. Me too. If
Same.
that's Tank, me too, Tank. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's Tank or one of the other guys, but welcome in, guys. So what did you like about this movie? What were your likes?
What didn't I like?
I
That's a
thought the
better question.
snake idea, Viola Davis's snake idea, was really really cool.
Yeah, I thought yeah, the snake the whole snake thing was dope. I also like really like the lore behind the snake. Like it has to get your scent in order to uh in order for you to be some person who like it surpasses. So they did a really good job of setting that up to pay off later, like her even
Hmm.
telling him that. Like I mentioned before, I love Viola Davis's character. I love Peter Dinklage in this movie. So I love the performances, but more so than the performances what I really like about this movie is that it didn't make Snow out to be a sympathetic figure, right?
Mhm.
So you have this situation where, like we were saying, like he's the poorest of the other people who are in Panem who are oppressing these other people, right? But at the same time, his entire goal is to achieve the same riches or get back the same riches that his father lost and ascend to that level of status, right? So it's not like he's
Mhm.
aspiring to something that's good. He's aspiring to continue to be someone who's acting as an oppressor, right? So they
Mhm.
set it up in such a way where you may think that he is um, a sympathetic figure, right? He's poor. Like we were talking
Mhm.
about before, his cousin has to make his clothes out of the wall and stuff like that. But when you look at what he's trying to be, what he's aspiring to be, then that kind of puts into conflict the way that he's being portrayed, right? And
Mhm.
I think the other cool part is the fact that even like in recognizing that, you also recognize that so you kind of want like Snow to lose at that point because you don't want him to be someone who
Right.
oppresses the districts, but at the same time, if he fails, then Lucy Gray dies. So they put you kind of in a bind where, like, in order for her to succeed, he has to succeed, right? So that
Mhm.
it's a very good way to get your audience like bent out of shape in a way,
Right.
right? So you
Mhm.
don't want Lucy to die, so he has to win. You don't want him to
Right.
win, but if he loses, she dies. So I think that they did a really good job of
Mhm.
making that a central
Tank
part of it.
saying he had rabies, so that's why he had to kill him.
Right? Yeah, 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 yeah. The guy had rabies.
Mhm. Yeah, the snake idea was genius. I think so too. And I like how he wrote the proposal for like, hey, if the tributes win, they get gifts. And then it also brought to the Hunger Games with Katniss and everything else because Snow implemented these things. And so
Hmm.
I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And like Snow, and so Viola Davis's character goes to the other one, hey, go so which one of you actually wrote the paper? I thought that was genius and put it in
Hmm.
the snake
That
tank.
was a great scene.
And she was like, these snakes can sense that whoever wrote this and told the girl to put it in there. And the girl, I guess her dad's like a powerful and says, hey, don't tell your dad. Don't tell your dad that I did this, to you.
Right.
Because I think her dad
Yeah.
was like really powerful in Pan Am. And
Hmm.
so then Cornelius's character, Snow's character, remembers that and puts the scarf or not the handkerchief from Lucy in there, and that's how the snake and that's how she didn't get hurt by the snakes. I found that interesting.
Yeah, I found that to be a really good way to use that plot device of the snakes. Another thing I thought was really good was pretty much like you were saying before, Snow writing that proposal. So you find out that he writes this proposal. He pretty much says, "Hey, if we make these people a spectacle, if we make the people of the capital fall in love with these different tributes and give them gifts and support them, you can get people to buy into it, right? You have to make each individual person matter to
Mhm.
people, to different people in the district, and it's betting and it's all this stuff. And you see this kind of today, not to
Mhm.
this extent, of course, with like sports betting and fantasy football, which is essentially what the Hunger Games is to the people in the capital. It's
Mhm.
fantasy football. You're betting on this person to win, right?
Right.
So with that, you have um, so with that, you have in the future, 60 years from now, it's not just that President Snow was someone who is keeping the Hunger Games alive. He pretty much rewrote the book on it. So he not only was he like a big proponent of like in the future, like you know how some presidents come along in America and
Mhm.
they just uphold the same laws that have been there before. So they're not really responsible for them, but they're responsible for upholding them. It's much more impactful when they're the person who wrote the law, right? When they're the person who like made the law that everybody's going to be following from here
Mhm.
on out. And then he was also in charge of it for well, whenever he does become president. But he because I would like to see like when he gets to that age when he actually does become president because he's not even anywhere near this near presidency by the time this movie ends. So I am interested in seeing that.
Me
But yeah,
too.
so by the time this movie ends, you recognize that he was the person who made the Hunger Games what it is today.
Which I thought was really clever. And Snow, he like I don't know, he's very complex, but he
Hmm.
also like watches people. He watches like people's like movements, science, and like every like their mannerisms and stuff like that. So I find that very interesting. He's like kind of like he's like introverted, but he's also kind of like extroverted, but he's also like this person that's in tune with like all his stuff, I think.
Yeah. Back to like really quick, because I just thought about this. Back to the dislikes. Did you buy Lucy actually like falling in love with Snow?
No. I think it was all an
Yeah,
act.
yeah, I think so too. And the reason why I felt like it was an act for a while, and then maybe it wasn't. But the reason why I felt like it was an act because you wouldn't just forget like that Snow was a part of that society that's oppressing you. So I don't know if that's a like or a dislike because I'm not really sure whether or not to believe that they were actually like in love.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
And then Paul sorry, excuse me. Paula said, "Sing Son James' voice of reason trying to start the rebellion. His death scene was shocking. It opened, yep, it did. I agree with you."
Yeah.
And then Tank saying, "The movie made you forget Snow became for a little bit, and the prequel can do that for a character. That's a win." I agree with you.
Correct. Yep.
And she loved the reaping performances, and I also loved the songs in this movie. They were all the songs were all like original songs, and I thought that was really
Mhm.
interesting as well.
Yeah. I like the songs more as the movie went on because I have to tell you, at the reaping when she started singing, I kind of rolled my eyes because I was like, what is happening right now? It's just
Right?
like, is
I
this
love
just a,
I
does
love
this just turn
Flickerman
into a
too.
musical?
But I
Yeah.
think
So, yeah,
out of Jason Schwartzman versus Stanley Tucci, I think Stanley Tucci did a better job.
I agree.
But
Yeah.
I do like they're two different cuz that's basically his dad. So Jason plays his dad, Lucky Flickerman,
Hmm.
but I think they both did a very good job in their own ways.
Yeah. And I think that Stanley Tucci had the advantage of doing an established version of the Hunger Games already. So all
Mhm.
of that like pomp and circumstance that was surrounding the big event, he was already in it, right? His character was already in it, I should say. This character was kind of like he was basically like uh,
That was
piloting
actually
a show that they didn't really know if it would get canceled or not at the end of the season, basically.
right. Yeah. That was the first time they did that cuz he was also a
Hmm.
magician. So that was the first time they did that. But
Right,
I thought
right.
it was really cool. Hi,
The
have you seen
magic was
that? T?
funny.
How you doing?
Yeah, what's up,
She
T?
used she used her she used Snow for her own survival before, during, and after the Hunger Games. I agree. She
Yeah,
did. But I did like the movie a lot, you know.
I did. I did too.
And Viola Davis was one of my favorite performances. So was the guy that played
Also.
Snow, Lucy,
Hmm.
like all the characters really.
Yeah, bunch of great characters. There wasn't really a character in there that I didn't like, or if there
Right.
was a character I didn't like them because the movie didn't want you to like them.
Mhm.
Other than that, like they're all performed very well.
Right. So this is a question. My fiance Mark, he also saw the movie. So these questions are from him. He just wanted us to answer them. So he
Hmm.
wants to thank you. You know, when Lucy ran off, do you ran off at the end because she was a free spirit, or do you think it was avoidance of the question? So what do you think, was it an avoidance, or do you, this was like you were saying did she love Snow, did she not love Snow, did she, you know, it's like one of those things where it's a toss up, it's like to your own
Yeah.
interpretation.
Hmm. I think that she was more receptive of him towards the end, but when he avoided the when when he asked, like when she was aware of the first two people that he killed, and she asked, "So wait, who was the third?" I think that she figured out that the third was his best friend, and that's when she was like, "Oh no, I can't be with this guy. If he can kill his best
Yeah.
friend, and he can kill anybody, right?" And then
Mhm.
knowing what his best friend was trying to do, his best friend was trying to help the districts. So from then on, she was just like, "No, absolutely not." So she had to do what she
Right.
had to do. She had to play along until she could disappear, so she could survive.
Exactly. So I also think so this is just a theory of mine. I think that Lucy is actually Coin. Is so in the Mockingjay Hunger Games. I think Lucy did not die when he was shooting the gun up in the air and stuff. I honestly think
Mhm.
Lucy is President Coin in District 13. Either that or like Paula says, it could be Katniss's grandmother. That Lucy is Katniss's grandmother.
I would lean more towards Katniss's grandmother because I feel like Coin. Well, for one, uh, Rachel Zegler and Coin look nothing alike in any way, shape, or
No,
form.
they don't.
Uh, and also she like Coin. No, not Coin, but Lucy. She sounded like more of a Southern belle, and Coin was more of like a someone from like New York or the
Either
East
that
Coast or
or
something
she's
like that.
related to
Yeah,
Coin somehow.
yeah. And also like you said, I also agree. I don't think that she died when he started shooting in the air because just like every movie or TV show that you've ever seen, the rule is if you don't see a body in a clear death, that
Yep,
person's
I agree
probably still alive.
with have you seen that with that T? I agree with him. She ran off. I think she actually was the person that made District 13, to be honest. Either she's
Yeah,
Katniss's grandma or she's related to Coin somehow. Julie Ann Moore's character.
yeah, so I would lean more towards Katniss's grandmother.
What would you make so when they saw the guns in the floorboard, the character seems surprised but possibly happy even though they discovered it. So this is the scene where Lucy goes back to District 12. She won the Hunger Games. She goes back to District 12. This is after the point that Viola Davis's character found out that Snow gave her the poison and a couple other things and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And so he's banned to be like a peacemaker. So he goes back and he says, "No, I want to be in District 12." They were going to send him to District 2, I think it was. But he's like, "No, send me to District 12 so he could be closer to her." And I think he actually really did love her, but
Hmm.
but she didn't really love him. She was just basically using him to get out of the Hunger Games so she could
Yeah,
survive the Hunger Games. But he's like, "Okay." And so there's a scene when he comes back and he ends up killing um a couple of the mayor's daughter and then her boyfriend when he's in the
right.
pub with his best friend and everything. And so he's like, "Go hide the guns," and the guns end up being in this cabin.
Yeah, I think that I didn't really know what to think about that when that happened. I think like the head canon would tell me that he just put it in the floorboards there, like Snow did it himself. But it also didn't seem like he would have been able to do that. So I
He
really didn't
wasn't
know.
there. It was the other
Yeah,
guy.
so that was weird to be honest with you. That was just a weird situation that happened. So I'm not able to put my finger on it on how those guns got there. Yeah.
And then Mark saying, "Do you think she tried to have him either set up in advance with the gun, or do you think she tried to kill him?" So at this point, she's trying. When they get to the cabin, I think she's actually trying to kill Snow, but doesn't succeed.
You think she was trying to kill him?
hmm That
Oh,
led
okay.
me to believe
Yeah.
she was truly misled masterminding a lot of the rebellion. Yep, I think she was part of the
I think
rebellion
she
too.
eventually gets there. Yeah, I think she eventually gets there.
Mhm.
Yeah, I didn't think that she tried to have him killed. Um, I do think that she was just trying to play nice so that she can survive and get out of there. But yeah, I would have to see it again, or at least see those scenes again to really make sense of the guns thing.
I would too. I can't wait for it to come out on video so I can watch it again.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
what do you so he's talking about his friend. Why do you think he played the voice box to kill his friend? That's what that's like. That's what he's saying, basically.
Oh, well, so he was playing that voice box because I'm trying to like sound it out and remember myself. But he was going to be Snow was going to be reassigned to District 2. He wanted to stay in District 12 with uh with Lucy. And I think what was going to happen if
Mhm,
he blew the whistle on what was happening in District 12, then Snow would have ended up in a situation where he would have been I forget what bad situation. Oh, Snow would have ended up in a situation where um the the not the rebellion but the peacekeepers would have been able to like take him out of the district and get after
mhm.
Lucy, if I remember correctly. And he didn't
Yeah,
want them to be able to get after Lucy. So
right.
Snow snitched on his best friend once he realized that the birds were the birds that Viola Davis's character
Mockingjay.
made. Sent it, Mike and Jace sent it back to Viola Davis, and he knew that Viola Davis was going to come and take out his best friend.
Mhm.
Devious Snow. Yep.
Have you seen that saying she wanted to see if he could just get rid of the guns and ran off and she ran off. Yep.
Hmm.
Mhm. Um, so how was Snow's not intensify just getting qualified for making appearance with the tribute almost immediately after? So Mark's asking basically like how did he not get disqualified for giving her those things and then the snake's not killing her and stuff like that. That's what he's basically saying.
Well, the reason why he wasn't disqualified is because the Hunger Games need to keep up appearances. It's the same thing as what was happening in the first movie back in 2012, or the original movie, where they were both about to eat the berries, right? So, in
Mhm.
order for the Hunger Games to matter, the public, or at least the public in the capital, has to think that it's legit. So, the
Mhm.
very first change to this Hunger Games to make it good, to make it great again, ends up in a scandal. Then the Hunger Games are pretty much going to end after that because no one's going to believe that the person who won straight up. Like they won fair and
Mhm.
square. So if you out him, you destroy the Hunger Games, and that's the reason
Yep,
why he wasn't
exactly.
disqualified.
Because don't forget in the beginning they were saying, should we do the Hunger Games? Should we not do the Hunger Games? And because
Hmm.
they were trying to get people's interest, so that's why Snow implemented, hey, if they do good, you can send them water, you can send them food, you can send them this, that, the other thing,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
And I
Exactly.
also
Yep.
thought the guy from District 12 was kind of helping Lucy as well, her friend, because she had a bond with him and I thought that was kind of nice as well.
Hmm.
Um she wanted to yep. Hey Echo, how you doing, my friend?
Yeah. What's up, Echo?
And then oh wait, let me get off. So why do you think he recorded his friend? So what we were saying before, for
Hmm.
evil or a mutiny that acts pride of guilt when his friend was killed over it. I think he kind of was guilty after he killed his friend. You could kind of see a change in Snow, and you could
Yeah.
kind of see him getting to where he is in the Hunger Games when we know him 50 years later. I think he has
Right.
resentment towards killing his friend. But don't
Yeah.
forget, over the years, Snow's killed a lot of people as well. A lot of
Right.
game makers, a lot of peacekeepers, a lot of people. So
Hmm.
who
Yeah. I
really
think like
knows?
yeah. Yeah, I think a big part of it was he killed his best friend because his best friend was going to get the people of District 12 killed. Because at that point, I think Snow kind of recognized that the Hunger Games were messed up, right?
Mhm.
that he didn't necessarily. He kind of was half and half on it as well. But if the Hunger Games was there and he could like capitalize off of it in terms of like, if the Hunger Games exist, I get to come back into power. If it doesn't exist, then I lose all my ability to gain the power that my dad lost, that my father lost,
Mhm.
right? So the reason why he kills his best friend is because his best friend was going to tell people the truth about why the Hunger Games were bad.
Mhm.
So he couldn't handle his best friend doing that, and then him. So it was all out of self interest. There's no, he would
Yeah,
not have killed his friend if his friend didn't make such a big deal out of the Hunger Games being a bad thing.
I agree with you. And then Mark saying, "Why did the poison dust almost kill instantly one person, yet two others with the exact same area remained unaffected? Why do you think the poison didn't affect her once as she was filling up the water?" I think because she had the antidote, to be honest.
Did she drink the water? Because I know the
She
water
didn't
was,
drink the water, but the other tribute drank it. You remember the
yeah.
tribute that was hiding the little black girl? She was kind of
Hmm.
hiding, and she was like one of the like couple of people that were still alive at this point. And don't forget, she so that battle with the other girl that was trying to get Lucy. Don't forget she was in that like little tunnel thing, and then the
Hmm.
girl was trying to get her. She poisoned the guy, and then they had this big battle because they found out where she was, and she was started putting the poison into the bottles, and then that's when that girl took the poison, and it wasn't supposed to be for her. It was
Right.
supposed to be for the other people that were teaming up on her.
Yeah. And I think some of the answer to this question in particular is it's movies.
Yeah.
Some things are just inconsistent, and that just happens.
Yep. It says more in the book why she actually had the antidote. Snow actually gave her the antidote to the poison. And
Hmm.
then have you seen that with T? His best friend was moving sloppy, was about to get Snow caught. Yep, exactly.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Was gonna get snow caught. Yeah, so the way that this movie so in the beginning of this movie when Lucy is at the reaping, the same bow the same way she bows is when you see Katniss bow as well. So that's interesting how you see both of them bow. And then
Hmm.
that's how Snow actually really has a love and hate relationship with Lucy and a love and hate relationship with Katniss because they have the same characteristics. And that's
Yeah.
why Snow does not like Katniss.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that Katniss reminds, like you're just saying, Snow a lot about Lucy, and like you said, with the bow, with her defiance in a sense, and stuff like that. Because Katniss, as much as she volunteered and stuff like that, she also wasn't for the BS that was going on, right? She didn't care about the pageantry and all the other stuff that the Hunger Games want the not the mentors wanted to do. She didn't care what Effie had to say. She didn't care what
Image
the
had to say.
image had to say. Like until like she actually kind of recognized that they actually do like they eventually do care about her. But yeah, she just wasn't for it. And Snow was threatened by this person who didn't immediately bow down and or cower in his presence.
Mhm. I also think Lucy questions a lot of things, and so does Katniss. And at first, Snow's like, "Oh, everybody loves her in the capital," and then people started not liking her because of the rebellion. But she wasn't. So Snow, I don't think knows that she wasn't even part of the rebellion because don't forget in Catching Fire, that's when all those people start to team up.
Right. Yeah. All the districts start to kind of come together when the champions start to come together.
Mhm. Yeah.
Which is actually when you
And
think about, oh yeah, and that was Philip Seymour Hoffman's character. That was his plan. I mean, he said,
yep.
"Hey, why don't you bring all the champions together?" So that entire time he was setting up Snow to get all the districts together, and then eventually he leads to District 13.
Mhm. So I think that like the way that they set up the characters, I
Hmm.
think because Snow becomes Viola Davis's apprentice. So I think what happened is some of her tactics got off on Snow, and that's why Snow is the way he is. I think
Yeah.
too. Plus what Lucy did to him.
Hmm.
I thought Snow was more respected of the tributes when he became president. He put them up, but really nice suits. He made sure they reminded how healthy and well while they weren't in the capital.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I think that he respected the tributes more. I think it was more so he was protecting his investment, right? So
Yep.
it's just like if you were to uh, it's like your car, right? Your car has a you need to change the oil, you need to put gas in the car, you need to treat your car well so it can get it to where you need to go. And I think that he was just trying to treat them well and keep them healthy so that by the time and also remember we were talking about how you sell the Hunger Games to the Capitol. You make these people look way more
Presentable.
good look presentable, great word for it, presentable than they actually are. So you have to give them all this stuff so that they can feel comfortable enough to fight to the death, right? So if
Mhm.
you treat them like crap and then you make them fight to the death, they're going to be defiant all the way there. So he was just softening. He doesn't care about these people. He was just
Right.
softening them up so that when they do fight, they feel at their best.
Yes, he did implement the drones and he did work them through, but they were his designs and I think he made the drones better as he becomes Viola Davis's apprentice. I think in the next book he's going to be a game maker, honestly. I think that's the
That's a good yeah.
game. So when he becomes a game maker, I think ultimately that what gets him in the presidency because he does something that nobody's ever seen in the Hunger Games. Like this was the 10th one. So what happened in the other ones that made the 11th one the best one?
Right. Yeah,
Or
that's a good guess for sure. I think he does
or
become a
what
game
they
maker.
might do is they might do so this is the 10th one, so they might do the 20th one in the next book. So it might jump 20 years.
Yeah, I think that that's definitely possible. I think uh, it doesn't really say like how old Viola Davis's character is in the movie, but I think it will jump just enough to keep her like viable, like young enough to continue to do the Hunger Games. Because I think eventually, what's going to happen in the next book or in the next movie is that they're going to be at odds. He's going to take her out some way somehow. Then he's going to take over for her.
Mhm. I think he's going to become a game maker. He's gonna kill her, or she might get chosen for the Hunger Games. Who really knows exactly? But
Mhm.
but something might happen. Maybe one of her experiments goes wrong. Who really knows? There's a whole bunch of theories. So maybe I'll make
Yeah,
some theory videos. Maybe Ken and I can make some theory videos of what we think will happen in the next book or movie. Who knows?
that sounds fun.
You know. Uh,
Mhm.
but but so do you think people should go see this movie in the movie theater or wait for video? What is your opinion?
I would say that they should see it in the theater just because the Hunger Games section of this movie should definitely be seen on the big screen. The entire battle sequence and all that stuff deserves to be seen on the big screen. And also, if you want to see more movies like this, you have to support them, right? So,
Mhm.
waiting for them to come on streaming, they may get a little bit of support, but really, what gets more movies made is that people have went to go see them in the theater. So if you enjoyed this movie, you're hearing me say that I enjoyed this movie, and you want to see more movies like this, I would definitely say go see it in the theater.
I agree with you. I really enjoyed this movie. I think you should see it in the theater, especially even if it's not for the scenes where they're talking so much, more for the battles and stuff like that, I think is a
Hmm.
better experience. I also
Agreed.
would say just come in this movie with an open mind because I'm not a prequel person. A lot of people know I'm more of the original type of person. So just come into this movie with an open mind and just know that it's a prequel. So it's going to be a little different from the Hunger Games that you actually know.
Right. Yeah.
So what do you
Totally
rate this
agree.
movie at? What do you rate this movie 1 out of 10? What do you rate it?
I would give it a 9 out of 10. Yeah.
I that's what I gave it, a 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed this movie. I really loved how they got Snow's character, how he's a complex character, and how they
Yep.
built him up from this like poor person. And nobody really knows that President Snow was like poor because I don't think that's in their history books. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
They
I think
look
yeah, I
at
think he
him as a
kills
rich
Peter
person because
Dinklage's
he lives in the
character.
capital. What?
Yeah. I think like when he killed Peter Dinklage's character, that's when like that truth died with Peter Dinklage's character, right? And that's a big reason why he
Mhm.
did kill him was because I don't want anybody else to find out like where I came from.
Right. I agree. So guys, if you have not checked out Kenny Sparks, go to his channel. I linked his channel and his Instagram if you guys want to talk to any of us. My Instagram's up on my channel. If you guys want to talk to me about any kind of movies or if you want to talk to Kenny or I, please reach out on our
Hmm.
Instagrams and message us. We'll be happy to talk to you about movies or anything really.
Yep. Anything. Yeah, I'm down to talk about anything. I have a series that's coming out that's all about people asking me questions, me answering them. So yeah, definitely open to talk about anything. And then yeah, so I did a review of the Hunger Games. You can see that review on my channel. I've also most recently done a review of Godzilla Minus One, which is a movie I really enjoyed. So if you guys want to see those reviews, they're definitely on my channel. And thank you so much, Katie, for having me on.
You're
Really
welcome.
appreciate it. First time I've done it live in like a month or so in some change.
Right.
So
Well,
this has been really good to get back into it.
Well, you know you're always welcome here. You know that. You're one of my
Yeah,
good
absolutely.
friends. Um guys,
Likewise.
sorry I haven't, like I said in the beginning, I haven't been on too much because I've had personal things going on. I've been sick. That's why you keep hearing me cough. Um
Hmm.
but I should be back into my channel here soon, like within a couple weeks. Live streams are more for me right now, even though that YouTube
Hmm.
does not like them, but it's more for me right now. So you'll probably see me on other panels or maybe me just doing a live stream and doing like a Q&A, something like that. And my channel is going to be restructured soon, so look out for that. And I hope you guys enjoyed this review of The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. And let us know in the comment section below if you guys want more info about the movie or what you think our theories are. And maybe look for in the future, Kenny and I might do a couple of theories videos ourselves, or we'll
Yeah.
just do one together. We'll see how that goes. And I hope everybody has a great rest of their week. I love you all. Bye, everybody.
See you guys.